Man, what can I even say? That was a straight-up beatdown. A statement win. Belt to ass. And that's exactly how you treat a struggling Giants team when you mean business. No mercy. The kind of game that reminds everybody that, yeah, the Eagles are still that team. And listen, I was locked in. It was my wife's birthday weekend. So yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we had plans. Family stuff. Celebrations. But don't get it twisted, I wasn't missing this game for nothing. I had the AirPod in all weekend, low-key watching the game like I was doing a CIA mission. And the moment I got home, straight to the TV. Rewatch time. I needed to see everything again in full. Because man, I owe a few guys an apology. Let's talk about Brett. I was one of the loudest voices calling for his benching. Bench him. He's trash. Over and over again. And I meant it back then, but credit where it's due. This man came out firing. Like he heard all the noise and said, "Bet. Watch this." He was locked in. The run game opened up. The pass protection? Solid. Against Dexter Lawrence and that front? That's no joke. I haven't checked the PFF grades yet, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if Brett landed top 5 this week. If I find out, I'll throw it in the next video, but I'm telling y'all now, this was one of those performances. The kind that makes you sit back and think, yo, this is what we've been waiting for. And look, I'll be real. I'd take Brett at 100% right now over Cam Jurgens at 65 or even 70. That's not hate, that's just facts. Brett got a full week of practice in, looked confident, and he delivered. We've been on his head, calling for Drew Kindle to take over. But with a performance like this, you can't even argue it. That was a starting level center out there. And it wasn't just under center. Even in shotgun, he held his own. I gotta give him love for that. Then we moved to the run game. Man balanced. Beautiful. Jalen Hurts didn't put up crazy yardage, under 200, but he was 15 for 20 with 4 touchdowns. 4. Come on now. What did I say 2 weeks ago? I told y'all he was entering the MVP conversation. Folks were in the comments like, nah bro, pump the brakes. Too soon. But now, you seeing it. The efficiency, the leadership, the impact. He's doing everything you want from a franchise quarterback. Outside of that one-off game against the Giants earlier, Hurts has been lights out. But we were so locked in on the play calling and the negatives that we weren't acknowledging what this man was actually doing on the field. But now the wins are coming, the performances are clean, and folks are finally like, okay, maybe Hurts is top 5 right now. And I love that. Now let's show some love to Tank Bigsby. Look, my issue with Tank was never about his talent. It was never, he's trash. My thing was, why did we go get Tank Bigsby if we're not even going to use him properly? It was a personnel issue. But this week, we saw that adjustment happen. Tank stepped in as the RB2, while Shipley moved into more of a return role, and everything just clicked. Shipley was giving us great field position on returns, getting us out to the 35, sometimes the 40. And Tank, 9 or 10 carries for over 100 yards. I think it was like 109. That's over 10 yards a pop, and these weren't cheap yards. This man was dragging defenders, fighting for every inch. You have to give him more touches moving forward. And like I said, no disrespect to Will Shipley. He was balling on special teams. But this was the right move. The coaches made the switch, and it worked. That's what you want to see from a staff that's paying attention. Same thing with Key Ringo. That boy got bullied the first time around. Let's keep it honest. But this time, he held it down. He had one play that looked like a busted coverage, but it didn't seem like it was on him. Overall, he wasn't targeted much. And when you don't hear a corner's name, that usually means they're doing their job. He looked good opposite of Quan Mitchell, and honestly, when Dory Jackson comes back, I might still roll with Ringo, depending on how Jackson's health looks. The kid stepped up. I also got to give props to the defensive adjustments. Last time we played the Giants, we played too much man. We underestimated Jackson Dart's legs. He was killing us with scrambles, along with Scatabo. This time, we adjusted. Vic Fangio deserves credit there. We made them uncomfortable. And speaking of making people uncomfortable, Kevin Patullo, man, this is how you call a football game. Screens, tosses, outside runs, a balanced attack. He finally got in his bag. I was one of his biggest critics early in the season, I'll admit it. But I always said the passing game had potential. I just didn't see the creativity. This week, it was different. We opened up the middle of the field. Jalen Hurts was under center more. We didn't abandon the shotgun, and I'm glad we didn't. but we finally added that under-center dimension that's been missing. And it worked. Saquon had that 60-plus yard run to kick things off. Tank Bigsby followed it up with his own dominant showing. And again, shout out to the coaches. They made another big adjustment by switching out tight end 2. They said, enough of this. Fred Johnson, you're a lineman, but today, you're tight end 2. Genius move. They needed blocking, and Grant Calcaterra wasn't giving it to them. E.J. Jenkins wasn't doing it either. Fred Johnson stepped up and even got a target. You love to see it. And while we're on the topic of receiving, Devonta Smith. 6 catches, 80-plus yards. Smooth, efficient, dangerous. And Jahad Dotson? That boy's got patience. He had that deep shot, and after the game, he gave all the credit to Hurts. Said, he's just showing the world what we already knew. That's what you want to hear from your receivers. Confidence. Belief in their guy. And yo, Dallas Goedert, sheesh. If y'all play fantasy or whatever, I'm just saying, he's looking like a guaranteed red zone touchdown right now. He's cooking. Just straight up cooking. This whole offense. I was really impressed. From the tight end change to Tank Bigsby's usage, to the way Saquon looked. And yeah, he's clearly healthy, by the way. That groin issue. Didn't see a trace of it. Dude jogged off the field like it was nothing. We pulled the starters late, and it made sense. You don't risk injuries when the game's already iced. Smart move. Just a complete offensive performance from top to bottom. As for the defense, man, I still think we need edge rushers. But give credit where it's due. The group stepped up. Jalen Hunt had one of his better days. Should have had 2 sacks. Missed one, got one. Moro Ojomo continues to flash. Jordan Davis was a beast against the run. Jalen Carter added a sack. Josh Uche got robbed. It was a strip sack, but the refs didn't give it to him. And speaking of refs, yeah, let's talk about that. The officiating? All over the place. That OPI on Slayton? I thought he pushed off. Giants fans were heated. But really, the whole game was called tight. Ticky-tacky on both sides. I don't know what they were doing half the time. But look, I'm not here to cry about calls. Because the defense, as a unit, showed up. I was surprised, though, when I saw Nakobe Dean out-snap Jair Brown. That was wild to me. But Dean played well. His weakness is always in coverage, and that showed on the one running back touchdown. That's where I would've subbed him out on 3rd down. Let Jair handle those pass plays. Still, Dean looked good overall. And Jair had a solid day too. Almost got a sack, clinging to Dart's leg for dear life before Hunt finished the job. Both of those guys deserve credit for the way they played. And of course, Reed Blankenship. Man, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't see him as that number 1 safety. He's not the Batman of the group. He's Robin. A solid piece next to someone elite. But when you ask him to lead that secondary, it just doesn't hit the same. He had his moments, sure, but I've been a critic of his for a while now. The flashes are there, but I just don't see the full package. That said, today's not the day to get too negative. We got a big win, headed into the bye looking strong. 2 straight wins. The Cowboys just got smoked. Washington's banged up. The Giants, well, y'all saw what happened to the Giants. If we stay locked in, this division is ours. But we don't even need to focus on just the East right now. We're looking at the number 1 seed. That's the target now. Tampa, we already beat them. Lions, we play them. Handle business there, and we get the head-to-head. Rams, we've got that edge. Green Bay, if we face them, we gotta win that too. Stack those wins against division leaders, and that top seed is ours. And that's what separates a good team from a dangerous one. When you stop worrying about just winning your division and start setting your sights on the whole conference. The number 1 seed, the bye week, home field advantage through the playoffs. That's the level this Eagles team is playing at when they're firing on all cylinders. And this game? This wasn't just a win. This was a message. Even without our top guy A.J. Brown on the field, the offense was dominant. The defense was relentless. The adjustments were on point. This is how you take control of your season heading into the bye. Now, let's be honest. It wasn't just the starters that impressed me. The depth showed up big time. That's what's been quietly developing behind the scenes all season. Guys stepping into new roles, coaches trusting them, and them delivering. You saw it with Fred Johnson becoming the 2nd tight end. That's not a move every coaching staff is willing to make. But it worked. It brought a whole new dynamic to the blocking schemes and opened up lanes in the run game. He wasn't just a body out there either. He got targets, was involved in the offense, and made an impact. That's creativity from the coaching staff and execution from the players. And when you look at what the offense did without A.J. Brown, it just makes it even more impressive. That kind of dominant performance, with your number one receiver on the sidelines, speaks volumes about the system and the trust Jalen Hurts has in his other weapons. Devonta Smith stepped up, Jahan Dotson played with poise, Dallas Goedert continues to be that red zone weapon you can rely on, and the backfield rotation finally looks right. We're not asking one guy to do everything. We're spreading it around, keeping defenses guessing, and maximizing the talent we've got. Saquon Barkley looks healthy again. That's a huge win in itself. He had that long run, showed burst, vision, and didn't look like someone coming off an injury. The fact that the staff pulled him late shows they're being smart too, preserving him for the stretch run. No reason to risk your top back in a blowout. And even with the backups in, the offense didn't lose rhythm. That's when you know your game plan is solid. When the second unit can come in and keep things flowing, that tells you the whole team is locked in. Defensively, yeah, we still need to talk about some things. Like I said, I still think we're thin on the edge. We need one more guy who can get after the quarterback consistently. But even without that ideal rotation, the front seven handled business. Jalen Hunt getting home was a big moment. He missed one sack, but came right back and cleaned it up. You love to see that from a young pass rusher. Learning on the fly, not getting discouraged, and staying aggressive. Moro Ojomo is another name that keeps popping up. Not flashy, but effective. Holding his ground, making plays, doing the dirty work that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet. Jordan Davis was a wall in the run game. He looked like the version of himself we all expected when he was drafted. Plugging holes, shedding blocks, and making it nearly impossible for the Giants to get anything going inside. Jalen Carter added another sack to his total. The kid just keeps making noise. And then there's Josh Uche. That strip sack should have counted. I don't care what the refs saw. That was a clean play. He's one of those guys who's always one step away from a big moment. And eventually, those start to add up. His speed off the edge brings something different to the rotation. And even though he got cheated out of that one, his presence was felt. Now, like I said, the officiating was weird. All game long, it felt inconsistent. Some ticky-tack calls that made no sense, missed holds, questionable pass interference calls. And that offensive pass interference on Slayton? Look, I saw a push-off. Maybe not egregious, but enough to warrant a flag. Giants fans were mad, but it is what it is. The refs were off all day. Both sides had reason to complain, honestly. But if you dominate the way the Eagles did, the refs can't save the other team. That's how you eliminate the noise. Just keep putting up points and getting stops. Simple as that. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. The NFL world is buzzing after shocking remarks from defensive powerhouse Jalen Carter, and sources say the Philadelphia Eagles are far from pleased. During what was supposed to be a routine media session, Carter dropped a bombshell that left teammates, coaches, and fans scrambling for context. While details are still murky, insiders hint that Carter's comments hinted at possible dissatisfaction with his current situation in Philadelphia, and not in subtle terms. The 2025 season has been one of highs and lows for the Eagles' defense, and Carter has been at the center of attention since day one. Known for his ferocious presence on the line, he's also been vocal about his ambitions and expectations, but nothing prepared the Eagles organization for what came out of his mouth this week. Eyewitnesses described the atmosphere in the locker room as tense, with coaches reportedly holding emergency meetings to address the fallout. Some suggest that Carter's words may hint at trade requests, while others believe he was merely expressing frustration with team management. Either way, it's a ripple that cannot be ignored. Fans took to social media almost instantly, dissecting every nuance of the cryptic statements. Pundits are speculating about what this could mean for the Eagles' defensive strategy. Is this a sign that a star is ready to bolt, or just a moment of raw honesty in a high-pressure environment? The answer could shape the team's future. Behind the scenes, sources suggest that the Eagles' front office is exploring all options to calm tensions, though few expect an immediate resolution. Some teammates have publicly expressed support for Carter, emphasizing his value to the squad, while others remain tight-lipped, further fueling speculation. Rumors are swirling. Could the Cowboys, Giants, or even a surprise contender be eyeing a blockbuster trade? Carter has never shied away from big moves, and insiders insist that this latest episode is just the tip of the iceberg. One thing is clear. The NFL landscape may be in for a seismic shift, and the Eagles are at the center of it. If Carter's remarks were meant to send a message, they've succeeded, and the league is watching, wide-eyed, waiting to see what comes next. The tension, the drama, the what now factor. The Carter saga is just heating up, and no one in Philadelphia or across the NFL will be able to look away. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.